Hey, Foilers. Ben and I need your help as we continue to work to grow it for God and increase the amount of listeners to the podcast. Here's what you can do to help. Head on over to our website, thetfhc.com, and be sure to sign up for the email newsletter. Doing so will make sure you get content as soon as it's available. Also, join us over at the Tinfoil Hat Club podcast page on Facebook, and be sure to follow, like, subscribe, and most importantly, share with everyone you think would enjoy the show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks for being fantastic and for all the love and support. Now, back to the show. Hello and welcome to the Tin Foil Hat Club. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Ben.
And thank you for joining us yet again. So, here we are, Ben.
Yes.
I don't even know what episode this is, and we promised we wouldn't say because
I know.
if we ever decide not to release them in order, then we can't say. But
Another episode.
but I think we're in the mid-teens, maybe somewhere
Maybe.
with this one.
Yeah, maybe.
Or if we shove it in our drawer and get it out, who knows? Maybe it'll be the episode 200 when we release
I know.
it. Lord willing. So, no, we have decided to talk about today something we've talked about on the show several times. We've mentioned it several times. We've gotten into it here and there. And it really is kind of a continuing discussion that we have had over the last few weeks and even throughout the life of the show, really, which is as it was in the days of Noah.
Yeah, that's my favorite saying.
Yeah. And I can tell you that like when I was coming up and growing up and coming up in the church and, this and that, I've heard that before and I've read that verse many times. But it wasn't until I started reading more stuff and these extra biblical texts that we reference all the time that it started to take on new meaning. And the other thing too is as I studied more and I grew closer to God, I found out that just like God works on many layers, Christ also works on many layers.
Yeah.
And when you think from that perspective and you realize how Christ operates that way, you realize that a lot of things that Christ was doing and a lot of things that Christ said all was very specifically worded and had multiple layer meaning.
Yeah.
And this one especially has that layer cake to it, I feel like. And on the surface, we read as it was in the days of Noah, and then we go on to talk about people were being given in marriage and,
just normal living.
they're going on their normal living. But I think that there's much more to it than that.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you're just now joining us and maybe you haven't listened to the first episode, I would encourage you to go back and do that because we get into the extra biblical text that I just mentioned. And when you read the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilees, it lends much more understanding to Genesis 6:4, which talks about the Nephilim.
Yeah.
And all these things that were going on in the days of Noah, why God decided to actually flood the earth. Because I think we're taught coming up in church that, or at least I was, because of man's sin.
Yeah.
And that's just, we just leave it there.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah.
Of what's going on.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, the earth had been corrupted. We've got giants running around and devouring mankind. We're making all kinds of weird creatures. It seems like the way it reads on the page.
Yeah.
It never specifically says.
I was telling you earlier today, I listened to Jasher this week, and it gets into that.
Does it?
It's like they deliberately mixed things together. Man did.
Yep. Man did. Not the Nephilim or the giants. Right?
Man did.
Really?
Yes.
Did it say why?
The wickedness of his heart.
Yeah.
Which, and
fits
you could take
Genesis.
Jasher, however, but I do look at it as a historical book in the fact that it goes along with Genesis.
The only challenge that I have with Jasher, when I looked at it, the only copies that we know of that we have were supposedly found by
that monk or something.
Yeah, it was like 14th or 15th century AD.
Yeah.
And supposedly, quote unquote, they're forgeries.
Yeah.
And not the original books that are referenced in the Bible. Because where's Jasher referenced in the Bible?
It's
isn't it Old Testament?
Old Testament, the Chronicles, the Kings.
Yes.
So those like.
Does it get into? Was that where? Was it Johann and Jambres or
John?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Wasn't that from Jasher?
No. Paul quotes it, and he says their names, and I think he does. Maybe he does say Jasher.
Paul did that. Yeah, I can't remember.
I thought he quoted the New Testament, and to give credence, I guess, or just say it's from here.
Yeah.
But I know who you're talking about.
As an interesting side note, because we always have good discussions before, we should just come down here and hit record, and then I'll split it into pieces because we have such good discussions before we ever hit record.
I didn't mean to distract you, but just the fact that it's the wickedness of our hearts.
Oh yeah. Well, desperately wicked. The heart is desperately wicked.
I know, but we should just hit record and
we should. But I think too, it's the other thing is like I wonder how many extra biblical texts are actually referenced in the Bible.
Oh,
a lot.
And they might, and some of them are probably not even named. You know?
No, probably not. That was you had said something that made me think of that, but it was something else. And this kind of goes back 2 episodes we talked about the rapture. Which we're going to dive into Matthew 24 today. So if you got your Bibles, turn to Matthew 24. That's what we're going to kind of dive into today. But we see this happening in our world with the whole, as it was in the days of Noah. We'll come back to that in a second. But one of the things that reading this, that kind of struck me because as you start to kind of ping pong around and see what exactly cross references with other things.
Yeah.
And then you get into some of Paul's writings. It was interesting to me because we know, based on history at least, take that for what you will, that the youngest book in the Bible is actually Revelation.
Yeah.
Revelation was supposedly written in 90 AD.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to me because Paul states in the letter to the Corinthians that Christ would not return until, quote unquote, the last trumpet.
Yeah.
Now, I would have to go back and look again to cross references to maybe he was pulling some of that out of Old Testament prophecy.
Maybe.
He has to or somewhere. He's getting that from somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I just found it interesting that like he couldn't have been referencing Revelation. It's not possible because he died in like 62 or 4 AD. He was killed and martyred by Nero.
Yeah.
So he can't be referencing that. So he has to get that from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I know that there's Old Testament. There's a ton of circular references in Revelation, especially like to Daniel. Daniel's pretty prevalent when you got to digging into it.
Yeah.
Daniel 9, Daniel 11, and Daniel 12. There are pieces from each. Because it talks about the witnesses, the 2 witnesses will be testifying in Jerusalem for 1,260 days, which would be 3.5 years, which would be that's another thing too that makes me kind of land in the more midnight terminology, but mid-trib land. I used to make fun of mid-trib. I'm like, what is that, man? It doesn't even make sense. And then I started reading it to prepare for the class that I was going to teach. And I'm like, oh, wait, that's more.
Yeah, we're going to be here for
some stuff.
I'm not, man, we could possibly be here.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I'm not saying that I want to be here.
No, like I said, we talked a couple weeks ago. I like their version way better than ours. And I guess we don't need to get into it too much, but you go read, if Christ comes at the last trumpet and you believe that's when we're going to be taken, as I do, that's what it reads to me in the Bible.
Yeah.
We're going to experience some crap. It's going to be bad. And that's one of the things that Christ actually talks about here in Matthew 24. And this is where we pull out, kind of the talk about Noah as it was in the days of Noah, right? Because that's what we're really talking about the end
And if
times.
you don't understand that, you need to go back and really do a deep dive of what was going on in the days of Noah.
It was bad. It was horrible.
I know we say it's bad, but you really the craziness of it, the evilness. Said pretty much the ground was crying up to God for revenge, pretty much.
From blood.
Yes.
From how much blood had been shed. Yeah, so I should pull those up too, and maybe I will here in a second as we're talking. Ben and I don't do a lot of editing.
No, we don't.
So pretty much is our conversation as you get it. If somebody sneezes hard or coughs, then maybe I'll do some work there and make a note to take it out. But it's pretty much, we could really do a live show every week because it's pretty much what we talked about on, down the run.
We're verbal wrestling.
We're real, Ben. We're real dumb. But hopefully real fun too. So, yeah, and if you're in Matthew 24, Jesus is talking here, and he starts off with talking about the destruction of the temple and the signs of the end times. And because a lot of what he's talking about here is he's predicting the fall of Jerusalem. Okay, so obviously Christ died in 33 AD, and what he's talking about here, the destruction of the temple actually happened in 70 AD. The Romans came through and basically burned everything down to the ground, which I read they didn't mean to. They started a fire and they couldn't get it out. So it was just kind of like, well, burn, baby, burn. Jesus left the temple and he was walking away when his disciples came to him and calls attention to the buildings. And Christ says, "Do you see all these things?" He asked. "Truly, I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down." As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. "Tell us," they said, "when will this happen? And what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" Jesus answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah, and will deceive many." Sound familiar at all, Ben? Do we have any of that happening today?
Yes.
You will hear wars and rumors of wars. Hey, Ben, what's something going on in the Middle East I think we talked about?
Yeah.
Something bad, and it just seems to be getting worse and spreading. But see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines, earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of the birth pains. Then you'll be handed over to be persecuted and put to death. You will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. Did you ever watch V? Back in the 80s?
Yes.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite miniseries of all time. And you have the people that were turning on the other people and turning them in. And I don't know, it just made me think of that. "And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as the testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel," which you can go back and read that in Daniel 9:27, 11:31, and 12:11. "Let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the housetop go down to take anything out of the house. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful it will be in the days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in the winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened." Now, that's interesting to me, too. Those days will be shortened.
We did discuss this. I mean,
I don't know that we got into verse specifically, but just for circular reference, I guess, in our case, for 2 episodes ago, they will be shortened, not that they will be avoided. Shortened.
Yeah.
So, Christ's words.
And that's where, do the days physically get shorter?
Yeah. Nope. I don't think so. At the time, if anyone else says to you, "Look, here's the Messiah," or "There he is," do not believe it. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, "There he is out in the wilderness," do not go out, or "Here he is in the inner rooms," do not believe it. For as lightning comes from the east, is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky and heavenly bodies will be shaken, which you can actually go read in Revelation. It does talk about some of that happening. And then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and glory. Now, the interesting thing there is clouds of heaven, because that is a repeated descriptor that happens several times when you start digging into the rapture side or end times revelation. And you can read Daniel 7, 13, and 14 is a good reference to that. But Paul references it a couple times, and I think it actually says it in Revelation as well, that same descriptor. So you know when that happens, that's when Christ is coming. And it says right here, and he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. The only thing in there that I always read that I don't understand, and I wonder what your CJB, I think I looked it up and it says the same thing, is where it says, truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened, which is verse 34. What does yours read?
Yes, I tell you that these people will certainly not pass away before all of these things happen.
See, that's a completely different thing.
Yep.
This is very misleading because the way that what I just read to you and what I just read to you is the NIV, and this is how the translation matters.
He could have went, these people.
Yes. With his arms out, like referencing everybody here.
Yes.
But I don't.
This is so good.
Mm-hmm. A CJB, which is a complete Jewish Bible. We've referenced it a few times on the show, and Ben's got in front of him physically. And I'm reading off the computer.
I'm telling you, folks, if you want to get into...
Yeah, I would highly recommend it.
Words mean things. Words are legal. And when it's this, it changes everything.
And just to reference again, because we've said this a few times, but it's worth saying again, if there is no good English translation for the word, it will leave the Jewish word. Here's one that it actually left when I looked it up this week, is shofar.
Yeah, trumpet.
Which is a ram's horn.
Yeah.
That's what an actual shofar is.
Yeah.
They're going to... It's not a trumpet; it's a ram's horn. Yeah, I mean, I'm not correcting you. I'm just saying when the NIV uses trumpet over and over and over again, it's actually a ram's horn.
Yeah, and there was one I was looking up when you were reading. I wasn't trying to be rude. I was trying to.
No, go ahead.
It's back in verse 3. It's when he was sitting on the Mount of Olives. The Talmud came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will these things happen, and what will the sign that you are coming, and that it's Olma Hezon is ending? And I looked it up, and it means present.
Mm-hmm.
It's like from...
When's the show coming to an end?
It's like it means like from the present, like they are present to the future kingdom. Mm-hmm. That's what it meant.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I don't know what it says in
3. It says, as Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming at the end of the age?
No, it's the present.
Yeah. See, that makes a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, and that one for me isn't a huge difference. But what I just read was because it's confusing, right?
Yeah.
You go down there and like, well, he couldn't mean us because he's the way that it reads.
Yeah.
He's talking that, how could all these things, did we miss it?
Yeah.
That's where, and there is a whole belief system.
Marie and I, we on our walks and on the porch, we discussed that. Is this?
Have we missed it?
Have we missed it? And is
we
this,
the poor schlubs that are born after?
Yes. But we know that's not true.
No, it's not. It doesn't make any sense for it to be true.
Do we know anybody that's lived to be 1,000 years old yet?
No, because that's an interesting one too, because that's very clearly stated when you go into the book of Enoch and the book of Jubilees. I always forget which one's which for some things, but it clearly states in there that man was designed even before the fall. Man was not designed to live forever. He was designed to live 1,000 years, and then I don't know what was supposed to happen after that.
Yeah.
but his physical life was only going to be 1,000 years. He did not fulfill his years. That's why Adam, and he says that you're going to die.
In Isaiah, it's talking about the millennial kingdom. And it says anybody that dies before, dies 100 is considered a child.
Yeah, right. Which would make sense based on the math that we have in Genesis, right? Yeah. And some of the older, Old Testament when you're walking up through. And I think that's one of the things that we see now. One of the signs for me that we're at the end of the age, or the whatever we want to refer to it says end of the age in here.
Don't ask me.
Right. Or the end of the show here, Christ's return, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that tells me that we're there is, it seems to me the way that all this reads is as it was in the days of Noah, right? And Christ says right before he floods the earth, when he's dealing with that group of people, and during that time frame, their days will be limited to 120 years.
Yeah.
Now, I've never took it that there was a period of time of 120 years. The way that I've always read that was in the future, because I think it even says in some translations, in the future, man's days will be limited to 120 years. And what you can see is that's pretty much where we are now. Like, nobody lives to be 120, right? It seems like our lifespans are getting capped off, which is an interesting thing because it kind of brings us full circle to what we were going to talk about today, as it was in the days of Noah.
Yeah.
And we've already kind of talked about some of the genetic manipulation that's happening, but that's one of the things that Adrian and I watched another show last night that was talking about how they're doing research right now to try to not only stop the aging process, but actually reverse the aging process.
I've seen something.
Yeah. And they're giving these guys like injections and stuff of like, they didn't say what it was, I don't think, but it was like 3 different chemicals mixed together, probably belly goo that they shoot in their guts.
Yeah.
And it's actually seems to be working, that it's kind of rejuvenating their body. Or people they're trying to figure out ways to take, like, because they said what causes aging, as your body reproduces cells, there's just mistakes in there. Like, as it goes to reproduce, it doesn't produce an exact copy. It produces a copy of a copy, kind of like multiplicity.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Steve. I put pizza in my wallet.
Eat a dolphin.
You're going to eat a dolphin. Oh my gosh. But yeah, as your body makes copies to reproduce your cells, when they die off, there's little errors, and then you have that forever. And then so this is just like an accumulation of errors that has happened as your body has reproduced cells.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, but it makes sense. So these guys are trying to figure out ways to pull your cells out and actually restore them back to what they were, and then they can generate. They're even talking about 3D printing organs.
I've heard this.
Organically. So they're gonna take organic material, because the issue that they have, that they've always had, right, even with transplants, is your body rejects it, right? Like if I get your kidney and we're a match, right, I could still have even though we're a match, you put it in my body, and my body still may reject it.
I listened to it was a Rob Skiba thing about this years ago, and he did a study. He did like some research on transplants, and it was like a 3-hour thing that he did, and people were doing weird things that they never did before after they got somebody else's organ.
Yeah, I've heard this before too.
Because they are your organ, and this might sound crazy, are part of your soul. Your soul's attached to your body.
That's right.
So whatever was in your soul is attached to it. DNA, I guess, sort of would be the best way to explain it.
This is so creepy, dude. As mentioned in this article's introduction, okay, so here's an article on it. So if you go to celllink.com, you can find this. A 3D printed organ in this context is a collection of living cells printed in a 3-dimensional geometry to replicate the functionality of an organ found in our bodies. So they actually take your own cells out of your body and use them to make you a heart or a lung or whatever, right? A kidney. And then right. And then Ben just looked at his shirt. By the way, here, we should get a photo of your shirt. We'll put it up on the website for everybody. I think maybe it's been up there before, but we'll put it up again. because it's awesome. So there you go. He's got a shirt that says Tinfoil Hat Squad, which we should probably make and sell if we were more
studious.
If we were more studious and more market savvy. Shame on me. But yeah, this is crazy, man. So they pull your cells out of your body, and then they're making 3D printed organs out of it looks like goo too. It's so weird. I mean, like it starts off as goo, but then it turns into
green.
And telling you what, yeah, they're people. I know I made a bad joke today at church. There was we were talking about aging and older people, and the term aged.
Yeah,
the term somebody said don't call them. They like to be called aged instead, and that sounds worse.
Yeah.
So I said no, they're seasoned. I said, but never go to the cannibal camp and say that there are seasoned people around.
Already seasoned.
That's already pre-seasoned people.
I love garlic and onion.
Good. Now we do not have to stuff them. Oh my goodness, it turned dark. All right, so yeah, this is the 3D printing organs, but there was more to it too. I'm like, there's like 60 million roads to Rome here, right?
Yeah.
Because the other thing too is that where it started off on the show, because it was another one of the unexplained, right?
Yeah.
I love those shows. They're pretty good. Again, you got to take them with a grain of salt, right? And you got to run them through your Bible filter because but you can see here.
I believe that's plausible.
What the
3D printed organs?
I mean, why not? I mean, it makes sense, right? Everything scientifically makes sense. It's always comes back to the heart. It's the application.
Yes. Now, I want my family to live a long time.
Hey, listen, if I had a little girl and she had a kidney failure and she's on this long list of transplants, and she's going to die. Please stick a 3D printed kidney in her body.
Yeah.
I'm down. Where do I sign?
Yeah.
I'm doing that right now. I mean, would you?
If it was from her own.
Yes, correct.
But I don't know.
It's tough though, because we're definitely getting into this realm of kind of a Babel realm.
A guy in our church, he used to work on the harvest wing at the hospital.
Oh, so the donors,
yes,
take harvest organs.
He said that they had pain. They winced. They groaned. They moaned.
The bodies?
The bodies, because they have to take them when they're still living.
Oh,
yes.
That's rough.
Yes.
Ooh, creepy.
So that's.
Are you an organ donor?
No,
I'm not either. I'm selfish. Burn it all. Nobody wants my organs. Trust me.
I know what Jesus says. Greater love have than no man lay down his life for his friends. Right. But I don't think he was meaning giving his organs. Sorry for those that think that's wrong. But we are not God.
No, but we're trying to be.
Yes,
and that's where we cross over a line for me. Because there's a difference between, for me, there's a huge difference for me in, a little girl or a little boy or a kid or whatever, a 20-year-old, right? That just was born with rotten genetics that has bad kidneys. Yeah. That's on a transplant list that they're probably never going to survive, right? Yeah. To do something for them to help prolong their life because they've got a lot of life left in the tank. Where you fall off track for me is what we're doing with some of this stuff on the flip side
with animals.
Well, not only animals, I mean, like all the testing is with animals, right? I mean, like we got bunnies now that glow in the dark and chimpanzees that have fingers that glow, and we're doing all this chimerical testing, which we'll get into. But on the flip side of the organ printing and other things, we're ultimately doing this to try to live forever. Right. Yeah. That's like for a lot of the scientists, the end goal here is to be God. I know this, I forget who it was, but they said as soon as you put a microchip in somebody's brain, they're no longer human. They're transhuman. Yeah, I know. I don't know. There's this guy. Where's the line, right? Like, I don't know. The answer to that, I guess for me, the answer to that is almost the same as knowing if someone's saved. Yeah. like your salvation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not God. I don't know where the line is for that. Because could you say that that's already happened in the case of somebody that gets like, I watched the video the other day of Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
Lou Ferrigno went and had a chip put in, right? And a lot of people have done this for hearing.
Yeah.
Right. And then they can actually plug into this chip that's been inserted into the brain.
Yeah.
And restore hearing.
Yeah. With a cochlear implant or something?
Yeah, right. I think this might have been even another higher level than that.
Yeah.
Because that's been around for a while, right?
Yeah. If I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, no, I think you got it. Good job. Good job, Dr. B.
I listened to a lot of Rush Limbaugh because sorry.
Well, Rush is gone.
Yes.
He wasn't down with living forever. The other thing, too, is it started off, the show started off with another aspect of this whole living forever thing, right? Because there's no doubt about this. This is designed to live forever, which is the cryogenic stasis.
Yeah.
You know, putting people, deep freezing people that are dead, because in the thinking that in the future, there will be technology to bring them back.
Yeah.
And, restore their life. Like Ted Williams. Ted Williams is the most famous that we know of. There's
Disney.
Well, yeah, he was mentioned too. I think with that, like, nobody's officially said that he is, but it seems like he probably was.
My thing is, this is going to bear with me here. Looking at Scripture, Old and New Testament, when somebody was brought back, they always made sure they ate. That they could eat. That means there's life. Mm-hmm. Like eat with their mouth and walk. You bring somebody back that can't eat with their mouth or walk. Are they alive?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, that is an interesting thing that does happen every time. Even Christ, right? Like, we go a little bit of time and we see some people, and one of the first things he says is, "Do you got anything to eat around here?"
Yeah.
He does, right? I'm like, that's one of the first things that he asked for. Yeah. I'm like, there's some other things that happen, but yeah, I mean, that seems to be repeated every time that something like that would happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't know where the line is. It's just like anything we do, there's an element of it that I don't have any issue with from a technological and a medical perspective of trying to prolong somebody's life in the right circumstances. But when you want to just live forever, first of all, that just tells me that you don't understand what's coming, because why would you want to live here forever?
Yeah.
I'm like, even if you love your life.
Because they have no hope.
No, they don't. It's really sad.
I want to live for my kids as long as I can.
Yeah.
And I know we kind of had a conversation before the show about aged,
Yeah.
And so my whole goal, I want to see my kids get older and be happy.
Yeah.
That's I think that is the ultimate. I know that sounds great. The ultimate goal is to see your kids happy, successful in something that they do or love. And, we should show them the ways of the Lord. And somebody that doesn't have what we have, they want to live forever because they have nothing. I heard Arnold.
Yeah, once you're gone, you're done. It's just
Arnold Schwarzenegger said he was mad that he, was going to die.
Yeah, right. Because he doesn't feel like there's anything after. But he'll reference God. I've heard him, because so he believes there's God, but he just doesn't believe that there's anything after you die.
Yeah. I mean, that's, he has a long body of work that will live long after he will be gone.
Mm-hmm. But he won't be around to enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of look at that. I kind of look at this podcast as kind of like a, we're doing it to be doing it, but also kind of leave it for other people, because it's going to be around in the ether long after we're gone.
Yeah. I mean, potentially so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting too for me, that I'm very different than most guys. Do you think about leaving a legacy for your family and your kids?
I just said it. I want my kids to be happy and know the Lord. That's it.
That's me too. I don't like, it just seems to me that a lot of guys get so hung up in that.
Yeah.
Where they get hung up in the I want to leave this legacy behind.
Yeah.
And it's insane because what happens with that is you go to such extreme lengths to do that you lose eternity for the sake of the moment.
Yeah.
Living in here. You get so focused on doing that, which is an eternal thought, right? Which is not, it is, and it's not really, because eventually this is all going to stop anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just kind of goofy.
Yeah. I don't have any, I know this sounds corny. The best legacy I gave my kids was music.
Yeah. That's cool.
And it wasn't like I'm giving them music to.
But most guys are like, I want to do something that's going to be remembered forever. 4,000 years from now, they're going to know who I was and what I did. And
build a pyramid that's still standing.
Yeah.
Put your name on it, though.
Just or better yet, do like the ancients did and just go find a pyramid that someone else already built and put your name on that.
Yeah.
And then steal it. Just steal everything.
Yes.
Just steal it all.
Yes.
Like Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Bill, if you're listening to this and you're going to sue me, don't waste your time because there ain't anything to get.
No. But no, I'm not hung up on a legacy.
No, I don't either. I don't get caught up on that 1 second. I'm like you. I just want to, because I guess for me, now that I've truly surrendered, right? I've truly just let go, take my hands off. Jesus, take the wheel kind of a thing.
Is he walking down the road with the left front?
Right, exactly. But no, it just totally took me 40 years, right? But I finally I let go.
Yeah.
Took my hands off, said, God, it's yours. I'll do what you want.
Yeah.
You just direct the car and you tell me where to go and I'll bust my tail and let you do the rest. But guys are so busy they just won't let go. They just got this death grip on their life, right? Like, I'm not going to give it all. I can't. Or they convince themselves that they have, but they still haven't, right?
Yeah.
Like you haven't. You're still holding on because there's a human aspect to you, right? And they just do. They get so focused on, I want to leave this legacy and all this and that. And I'm like, man, no, screw that. I just want to I want to know that my family and my kids are saved.
Yeah.
So I'll see them for eternity, right? And they'll be there with me, right? And my family, my kids, and then as many other people as I can.
I wish I could clone myself so I could do multiple things and stay at home.
We just talked earlier what that looks like.
I know.
It don't look like you think it looks like.
That's the joke.
You're gonna have one that stuffs pizza in their wallet. You're gonna have another one that's more effeminate that does clean the house at least, right? And so maybe it's not a bad idea. And then one that's a workaholic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they get jealous of you, but in the end, they can get in a convertible and go on a trip together.
Yeah, I've always wanted that. I think everybody wants that. Everybody wants to do things that they need and have to do, but still stay with their loved ones.
Yeah.
But how do we get to do that?
Well, that's just the thing, is live for eternity, don't live for now.
Yeah.
It's so sad to me because now that my eyes are opened and the blinders are off and I finally let go and I see how good it is to let go. And I'm telling you all out there, if you're like I was, don't be like me. Don't have this death grip on the steering wheel and you just refuse to let go, or you take one hand off, but your second hand grabs it even that much more tight, right? And you refuse to let go. I'm just going to tell you the way it is. Here's the raw and honest. Your ideas suck compared to God's.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah.
That's a really raw way to put it, but it's the truth. Your plans, your ideas, all these things are so inferior, and your idea of what will make you happy is so inferior next to what God has planned for you to make you happy. If you just let go of the steering wheel, just open your hands and let go and just do what he tells you to do, and don't worry. I know that's hard, and I'm still struggling with it because we're human. But just do the best you can and let him take care of the rest. Your life will be so much better.
Now,
and it doesn't mean that you're going to be wealthy, and because we tend to measure things in all the humanistic ways, right? Oh, I'm going to have this big house, and I'm going to have $1 million and a Lamborghini and a Ferrari, and the Lambo SUV and all these cool things.
I had a dream one time. I was driving a Lamborghini and I couldn't fit in it.
Oh yeah,
and it was the weirdest thing because that's not a car I want.
In my case, that would be prophecy because I definitely could not fit in a Lamborghini.
I couldn't.
You better bring a man-sized shoehorn and some Crisco. Somebody's going to have to shoehorn while someone else pushes and lubes me with Crisco.
It was like the old style Countach, from the 80s.
Yeah. Oh, nice looking cars.
Yeah.
Boxy, but nice looking.
Yeah, and it was the weird, and I never want. It's like the worst car I could think I could have.
You know what? Here's the thing, and you and I've talked about this before. All these things that we measure success by, right, in the world, and we do this grapple hold to try to control our lives and live as long as possible so we can accomplish all this stuff and we can get the Lamborghini and all this crazy stuff. If money equaled happiness,
yeah,
there'd be a lot more people alive.
Yeah,
that were rich.
Yeah,
I mean, just look at what we've even had over the last year or two, as far as these guys dying off, man.
Yeah,
they're depressed. They're horribly depressed.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? You can see it in Solomon too. When you go read, like we were talking earlier today about Ecclesiastes, it's kind of amazing. Ecclesiastes seems to be my theme of the day. But if you go read Ecclesiastes, first of all, I'd encourage you, and I think maybe I've said this on another episode, but it's fantastically written because it's very different. It's very pessimistic almost the way it comes across at first. But you have Solomon at the end of his life who's experienced anything that he could ever have, right? All the wealth in the world. And he realizes that it doesn't mean anything because he's going to die and it's just going to go to someone else that probably won't appreciate it.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just temporal. It's just for here, man.
Yeah.
You're going to get the same, number of years, roughly give or take a few, than everybody else has. We've all got an hourglass over our heads and the sand is going south. Yeah. And you don't know how much sand you have left. So just let go.
Well, I guess I was thinking of something that I went through years ago. I guess I don't know if it's not 3D printed, but I do have a cadaver bone in my body.
Oh, do tell.
Because I blew the disc in my neck and they...
Oh yeah, you told me about this.
And they scraped out all the disc.
And they went through the front of your neck to get to it.
Yeah, that's my throat moved everything around.
That's crazy.
And I have 2 cadaver bones in my neck. They were dead. They were cadavers. So
nobody groaned when they were being taken.
Yes. And so I didn't know that until after the surgery.
Mm.
And I have a metal plate.
Does that bother you that they were cadavers? They're from dead people? Do you feel dead inside now?
It's weird. I mean, it wasn't donated, but it was some I wonder who it was.
Yeah, that's not from somebody that was that donated?
They donated their body to science after they died.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it could be, I could have 80-year-old, bone.
I feel like I do.
Maybe that's why I'm having all my problems now.
Back pain probably.
Yeah. Because I know I'm having back problems. I'm young and dumb. Well, I wasn't young at the time. I was just dumb.
Yeah, we're young and dumb at one point, and then we get old and painful.
Yes. But I just thought of that. I was like, so does that make me?
No. Nah. Your soul and your heart's intact.
Yeah.
It does remember. I think maybe you mentioned this before, too, and we talked about it on the show about the movie. I was thinking, something came up earlier this week, and I was thinking about that, too, of maybe the transhumanism side of the coin, and what point do you cross over from one way to the other? And I was thinking about the movie Bicentennial Man.
Yeah.
With Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Which is a good show.
He wasn't human at all.
Yeah, but eventually by the end of the show, for all intents and purposes, he feels like he's a human being.
And he decides to unplug himself.
Yeah. Because I think he lost his wife, right?
Yeah.
And things like that. Because he'd wind up having a family and he lived all these years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 200 bicentennial. Right?
Yeah.
So I look at it through a lens now, right? Because I'm like, okay, what is Hollywood what are they selling me here?
They're always selling
They're always selling something, so I got to always look at them with some shade.
And they're worried about the writer's strike. Come on.
Yeah, right. But it's a really good show, and it is thought-provoking, and Robin Williams is so amazing. He does such a great job.
What do you think about, the main strike with the AI with Hollywood? Isn't that interesting?
Well, that brings us to another topic, which is the whole AI thing, right? So, we go from we didn't even talk some of the Chimerical thing. We'll get into that in a minute, but... I don't know that they had AI back in Noah's day, but I think the heart behind it is still the same. We have a bunch of people that are trying to play God.
Yeah.
Okay. And I feel like, to me, AI is the one that is the creepiest of everything because it is literally Skynet waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, you go back and you look at that too, and it's like, you know, you were preparing us.
Yeah.
Like, because whatever we experience now has been around a while.
Oh, it's
right. They've played with this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what was the name of the metal that you, by the way, if you want to have fun in our little family, our little weird tinfoil family, please do go on our Facebook page. And I know I'm plugging it right now, but it's so fun because we do post a lot of stuff on there that is relevant to the things we talk about. And anybody can go on there and post stuff. It's just kind of fun, the little community we've created. But go look at the Tinfoil Hat Club podcast page on Facebook and you can join.
I don't remember the name of the metal.
But yeah, long story short, here, I'll pull it up while we're talking. But this metal was created back in the 70s.
Yeah.
Right? The 70s, 1970s. So 50 years ago. And it's, was it nickel and titanium, I think, mixed together?
Yeah, I think so.
And this stuff is amazing. Let me find it here. Yeah, I got looking at this and I'm like, dude, this is absolutely insane to me that they're able to do this. Nitol or no, what is it here?
Nitol, that's what you drink, give your kids to go to bed.
Yeah, I don't remember. But anyway, it's just crazy. It's this metal that they've mixed together. And nitinol, Nitinol, Nitinol. And it was created. I love what some of the Ni and the Ti. So Ni is the nickel and the Ti is the titanium.
Yeah.
And then you have NOL, and that was the Naval Ordnance Laboratory, I think, or something like that. And I'm like, oh, that's where this came from.
Yeah.
And ultimately what it is this metal that, like, let's say we fashion it into a spring. Okay. So what you get it to like a really high temperature, and then you can bend it into whatever you want. All right. Whatever shape you want. Like, let's just use a spring because that's all the examples I saw, which was a good one. So really tightly wound spring, and then you let it cool to room temperature. Okay. And it's very malleable at room temperature. And you can take this spring and you can literally just crumple it and pull it out and turn it into all kinds of weird shapes. And the minute you put it in like warm or hot water, it will literally spring back with several tons of force to its original shape.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing. And again, if you go on our page, there's stuff on there about it and you can look at it. That to me is fascinating. But because when you think of the concepts of what this can be done and how it can be used, and the guy showed on the video that I saw how, and the one you put up too, where, because the one I posted as a response to yours was like the full version of that original interview, which is fascinating. But you can make engines out of this stuff because you just need 2 temperatures of water.
Yeah.
So you can use the force that this thing creates when it goes back to its normal shape when you put it in hot water to literally spin things and create an electric current with a wheel. Yeah. And you can literally the other thing too is the metal, when we normally bend metal back and forth, it stress fractures and weakens and eventually breaks, right?
Yeah.
This stuff, they said, would get stronger over time.
Yeah, it does.
The more you screw with it, the stronger it actually gets. So there's no way it's ever going to break.
Yeah.
And you could literally make energy out of this, which would be 0 carbon footprint, free.
Oh, yeah.
And this was 50 years ago, right? And they're even talking in the thing that I put up there, like even more so, like, yeah, we see this as, really going far to take us off of fossil fuels and oil and petroleum dependent, which is funny because they never used the term fossil fuels in that video. That was something else I caught. Because that is now a relatively new term that we've used to try to demonize oil. Yeah. And to try to make it seem scarce.
And it's not.
It's not scarce.
I think it's the blood of the earth.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
I'm not trying to be deep, but
they said there was another video we put up on our page too that the guy was talking. I don't know who the guy was, but he was saying that it's the second most available resource on our planet.
Yeah.
Next to water.
Yeah.
Is oil. We're never going to run out. It's going to take forever.
I know.
It's ridiculous. But all of this stuff, man.
It's almost like God planned it that way, didn't it?
It's almost like he did. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But all of this stuff, you can see how the things that we are experiencing now have been around a long time.
Yeah, think about the tar pits.
Oh, La Brea? No, that's just one of the more famous ones.
And the like over in the Middle East with all their oil and things over there, they've been using oil for a long time.
I heard one time back all the way when I was in high school, and I don't know how true this is, but one of the things when we bought Alaska from the Russians for like nothing, we found a lake in Alaska, an oil reserve in Alaska that was literally like however many times. It had more oil in it than we'd already used in the entire existence of the planet multiple times over.
I believe it.
Was just in this one huge reserve that we had in Alaska.
I believe it.
And I guess we were using it, but we were reserving it for military use only. Yeah. But going back to the AI thing, this ties into as it was in the days of Noah. I think this is just one aspect of it.
So, okay. We have AI.
Mm-hmm.
We can 3D print organs.
Mm-hmm.
We can make a person.
It's coming. You know what is?
Yeah.
Cloning.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already played with that, right? We've got Dolly the sheep that's been cloned, and who knows what else we've been cloning.
People clone kids.
Oh, like they've cloned one of their own kids?
Yeah.
Like officially that's happened?
Yeah.
What?
I think so.
What? We produced a clone kid?
Yeah.
From another kid?
I think one of them died, if I remember right, and they took some goo from the one and were making one.
Oh, my goodness.
Which, as a parent, I understand. I get it. But,
dude, you just get to a point where like you're playing with God.
I know.
You're playing God.
Yeah. So we 3D print an organ, AI. Now we need some chimera goo as well.
Okay, so for those of you that are not familiar with the term chimera, let's just cross that because that was one of the other things that we want to talk about today, which is chimerical research. So that is actually crossbreeding humans with animals.
Yeah.
Like taking the DNA and the genetics in a lab and monkeying with it and mixing them together.
You remember that cartoon Brave Star?
No.
It was like late 80s, early 90s, but he had like eyes of a hawk, speed of a cheetah.
Oh, really? I kind of vaguely remember.
Strength of a bear or something. And it was, they geared all this stuff towards kids.
Of course
they want
they do.
Kids to get this, not adults, because adults are free thinkers. Kids, if you tell a kid you can be like Wolverine, what are you going to do?
Of course it's going to be like Wolverine.
I would love to have metal claws come out.
Absolutely. And I know what I would do with some of them. That's just why God didn't give me metal claws that come shooting out of my knuckles.
Yes.
From between my knuckles.
Yes. I mean, it's this. I believe that all the Avengers stuff is just a precursor of what's to come.
I agree. Yeah. Well, just look like Captain America genetically enhanced.
Yeah.
Right. We've been monkeying with that for years.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that you can find out, and a lot of this is declassified, how we've experimented on soldiers for years to try to make. I think one of the most dastardly evil things on the planet would be to go walk through the DARPA facility.
Yeah.
So for those of you that don't know, this is the Department of Defense's research wing. Okay. And there's only like 200 people that work at DARPA. So anything that is scientifically charged research of any kind for military use, they do at DARPA.
Yeah.
And it is like, I'm sure, beyond any kind of ridiculous clearance to get access to this place. Because anything that we do is going to come out of DARPA.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that is that at Los Alamos?
I want to say it's Virginia. Hey, I'll pull it up.
Okay. Because I know Los Alamos, they have a lot of experiments too.
Oh yeah, because that one Los Alamos was actually where Bob Lazar was working before he got recruited to come over to, according to what he says. But it's been verified.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in a phone book from whatever. It's funny, when they went to go expunge his record, they didn't do a very good job, which is our government. It's funny because they do a really good job in some things, and other things it's like you whiffed pretty hard on that one. But yeah, when you go look up DARPA, Arlington County, Virginia. The other thing, too, that I keep coming back to several times, it is amazing the shady crap that happened during the Eisenhower and Truman times in office. A lot of Truman stuff. There's a lot of really shady stuff going on when Truman was in office.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Like we completely gutted the White House. Have you ever seen photos of that?
No.
So I guess it was in really bad disrepair. And he literally, during his tenure, they went in and they completely gutted the White House. The only thing that was left was literally the outer shell and rebuilt it all from ground up with like steel and advanced technology and who knows what they put in.
Probably a missile system.
Yeah.
A bowling
on
alley.
The roof. Yeah, that was Nixon had the bowling alley at one point.
And then didn't Obama put a basketball court in?
Yeah. Taxpayer funded money hard at work right there, huh? But going back to DARPA, okay, here I'm going to read some of these. I'm going to read some of these if I can get to them. So here are some of their current program offices. Okay, Aerospace Projects Office, Adaptive Capabilities Office. Okay, Defense Sciences Office, Information Innovative Office, Microsystems Technology Office, Strategic Technology Office, Tactical Technology Office, which that one engages in high-risk, high-payoff advanced military research, emphasizing the, quote, system and, quote, subsystem to approach the development of aeronautics, space, and land systems, as well as embedded processors and control systems. But then our last office pen would be Biological Technologies Office. Fosters, demonstrates, and transitions breakthrough fundamental research, discoveries, and applications that integrate biology, engineering, and computer science for national security. Created in April of 2014 by then Director Arati Pravakar, taking programs from MTO and DSO offices. It goes down here and says some of the things, projects. It's pretty scary stuff, dude.
Okay.
Because they don't really hide a lot of this stuff, like what they're working on. Gremlins. I got to read this. 2015 Gremlins, air-launched and recoverable UAVs with distributed capabilities to provide low-cost flexibility over expensive multi-role platforms. In October of 21, 2 X-6 Gremlin air vehicles were tested at the Army's Dugway Proving Ground in Utah. I just like the fact that they used gremlins.
Yeah. One was Stripe, right? Gizmo.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. It is a gizmo.
One thing from Jasher that I found interesting is when they were building the Tower of Babel, they broke off into 3 groups. One was going to kill God, one was going to set up their gods, and one was going to do something else. The ones that were going to set up their gods, God turned them into elephants and monkeys. And when you were reading that, I was thinking, are those the ones that went to India?
Oh, yeah, it could be. Because the sacredness of the elephant.
Yeah.
And monkey.
Yeah.
That's very valid.
And they were probably serving animals. We have to be careful because God will do...
Oh, yeah.
God will put judgment on us that like we've never seen before.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to take extra biblical text seriously. If you don't, when you see a guy walking down the street, like different than you, and I'm not talking like tattoos or like surgical stuff. I'm talking like, wait a second. That guy, he's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Ninja Turtles.
Listen, we're doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think I posted something else on our page again the other day that I found when it came to chimerical research. The National Institutes of Health, which you can thank for our COVID programs, and Anthony Fauci, that's where he came out of, was the NIH, right? He was just in the infectious disease area of the NIH.
Didn't do a real good job.
Yeah, he did a bang-up job. I'd like to put him against a wall and bang him up a little bit. But anyway, because that would be justice. But anyway, I digress, Ben.
We're going to make some fans tonight.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm sure that everybody that listens to this show is probably like fist pumping in the air right now.
That's right.
But no, when you go look, this is the NIH, and you can go look this up. There is actually protocol, all right, and outlining what you can and cannot do, quote unquote, when you're doing chimerical research, meaning that it's okay to do it. You just need to stay within the boundaries.
Did it say the boundaries?
It was really long, and I'm like, I don't want to read this because it's all going to be a lie anyway. They're going to do, it's going to be the exact same thing that they did with COVID. I've already done this. I dug into this.
I know.
I dug into all of it. They told, first of all, it's EcoHealth Alliance, right?
Yeah.
And you go back and you look at that whole, not to turn this into a COVID show, but the government is going to do what the government's going to do. And when there's nothing that happens, they continue to do it, and they just do more of it.
Yeah.
They funded a group called EcoHealth Alliance, which was Dr. Peter Daszak. They knew, and Anthony Fauci knew, and funded him to do gain-of-function research, no matter what the little snake says. I've got all the documents saved to prove it. It's out there. This guy had actually also gone, EcoHealth Alliance had a long history of working with the Department of Defense, specifically DARPA, to do this research before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can go find all of it. I have all the documents that shows this. They don't hide anything. It's all out there. And so you can tell, like, we told them, okay, let us know. And he continuously let us know as he was gaining, had success doing gain of function testing. And we threw them all under the bus and said, well, they denied it at first. And then said, well, they were supposed to tell us when they get the gain of function, and didn't do it.
Yeah.
So that's exactly the same thing that you have here.
Yeah.
They're going to do the same exact thing.
And I would love to see a centaur. I would love to see it would be cool. I totally
It'd be weird.
A minotaur. There you go.
What's the difference between a centaur and a minotaur?
Minotaur, I think, is
a half. Like, which half is half?
I think so. Yeah, like the centaur is the man on the horse's body, and minotaur is the bull with the.
Which is funny.
Which the Isle of Crete had that. They would. That was one of the things. The maze. There was a maze that they would put. They would pretty much sacrifice Greek kids there, and there was a like half man, half bull there that would eat them.
Oh my goodness!
So history. I believe that there is no mythology to history.
I totally agree.
Fact.
We had something at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we have to screw with things.
Yes. We are constantly trying to play God.
Yeah.
And God makes it very clear, you're not me, and you're never going to be me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to allow you to be me.
Yeah.
And I think we can all see at this particular point, again, nobody knows, right? It says nobody knows when Christ is going to return. And that's actually the second half of what we're going to read in Matthew 24, the day and the hour unknown, because he says nobody knows, only the Father.
Yeah.
Right? But I think when you look, and granted, we may be 5,000 years, we may be 50 minutes. I don't know. None of us knows. Only God, not even Christ, only God. However, he clearly and throughout the Bible shows us and says, when you see these things, I'm near.
Yeah.
And you can see the technological advances we are making. We are inching rapidly. Inching isn't even a good way to put it. We're like striding ever closer to being able to do some of these things to prolong or really indefinitely prolong life.
Yeah.
That's the whole goal, right? It's so funny to me, though, because it's like, I guess it kind of fits because the other part of it is they want to depopulate the earth, right?
Yeah.
So let's get rid of all of the low people.
Yeah.
And then we want to have this technology waiting in the wings for those of us that are left, the elect, the elite, the Georgia Guidestone people that are the ones that are chosen to be the however many 100,000 people. And then we will be able to live forever.
Yeah.
And create this godlike, they want to create Eden.
A utopia.
They want to create a utopia, man style.
Yeah.
And, while if we had a centaur or a minotaur or whatever tar, it's not going to be written in the book of life.
No.
So, which really stinks, man, because I think that you could run into a situation where this creature literally does have some kind of essence to it where it's like, dude, I'm so sorry that you could almost probably feel sorry for it.
Like in Jubilees, after the flood, it said God closed the animals' mouths so they couldn't speak.
Mm-hmm.
And it said they had their own language.
Yes. So we could commune with the animals. And they could commune with us.
And this is where I took it. This is why I think God did that. I think man, being man, they did have relations with animals.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened. You develop a personal relationship with whatever. Mm-hmm. You're drawn to it because if you can speak to it, you can have a relation.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Relationship, because God said it was confusion.
Yeah, and we have that same disturbing thing happening now.
Yeah,
and it clearly says in the Old Testament too, like even after the flood, when they came up with the law, any person caught having relations with an animal, you were to kill them and the animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, and you see all these same things now, right? And so this kind of, like I said, gets us to the second part of Matthew 24, which is really the essence of what we're talking about today. And it says the day and the hour unknown, and picks up in verse 36. And it says, but about that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man.
Yeah.
So we'll pause there really quick. Let's run down the list. Do we have all kinds of inappropriate sexual relations happening? Probably the exact same way that they happened during the days of Noah. I think that's a huge check mark, yes, right?
Yeah.
Are we beginning the process of creating alt humans or potentially even trying to create giants again?
Yeah.
I think that's a yes.
Well, I just seen that guys working on have a T-Rex next year.
They want to bring back a T-Rex.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can check whatever was next off. See what I'm saying? Like, we're doing all these things. Are we creating crossbreed people and animals?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Chimerical research, check. Are we at constant war with each other?
Oh, every day.
And killing each other by the scores. Look what's going on in the Middle East right now. I don't care what, I don't even like saying what side you're on because that's just stupid to me. We've got a bunch of people dying, and it's women and children.
No, I know what we've been saying. We should be on the side of trying to live.
Yeah, and what God has to say, and God is appalled by all of it.
Yes.
And wars and rumors of wars, right? I just read that earlier. Check. It's literally like the only thing that we don't totally have yet, but we're working towards it, is the chimerical stuff. And I think we're even going beyond a lot of the stuff that they had.
Yeah.
Like we've even gone further than what they did back then.
Oh, yeah.
More so than at any point in history because they didn't have the technology to do it.
Maybe they did. And we just don't know.
They could have. And there's a lot of things that we look around and they had some kind of technology. And it's the other thing, too, is like the modern scientific community that is archaeology is like, you guys are a joke. They're going to have to do something because everybody looks around and knows they're a joke now.
Yeah.
It's like you're lying. You've been lying and you need to give it up because we all can see with our eyes the things that we're finding do not make any sense whatsoever of what your story is, that these primitive hunter-gatherers built this stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't add up. They were geniuses.
They were, and they had some form of technology, some way to manipulate things to a high degree that we don't even have now.
I think they were honestly able to use the ether somehow.
I think that there was a lot more natural resource to be able to tie in naturally somehow. We kind of do it artificially, which makes sense, right? That's how we do everything. Everything is concocted and artificial in some way. But when you go look at this checklist of all these things as it was in the days of Noah, we've got it, right? Like we've got 90% of it, and we're just working on the last little bit here. And we've probably gone past, like I said, we've gone past some of that stuff, right? So we kind of continue on, right? For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and being given in marriage up to the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. Now, I think a lot of people read as it was in the days of Noah, and then he immediately goes into this. And I think people take that and they simplify it because of that. I know I did for probably 40 years.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, people were just living their lives, and oh, here comes the flood. But I think it was way deeper than that. And I think we can all see and experience that. And as we go back and read, because the other thing too is even if you're listening to Ben and I and like you guys shouldn't be playing with extra biblical texts, you guys are heathens. Okay. My challenge to you would be go read Genesis again and count how many times the phrase like it's kind is used, either in the story of creation or when Noah is collecting all the animals to go on the ark. That is repeated over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Ask yourself why God would feel like we needed to have that repeated so many times.
Yeah.
Why did we repeat it in the creation story? And why did we repeat it all again, that same phrase, like it's kind, when we were gathering all the animals to put on the ark?
Yeah.
The only logical explanation for that is we had monkeyed with stuff and crossbred stuff and polluted all of the gene pool of the animals and made a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
That's the only logical thing that comes out of that to me.
Yeah. But the only one that, they missed the Sasquatch, so.
Did that? He's a good swimmer.
Yeah.
He had floaties.
Yeah. He could just walk.
He could just walk.
Or he just transported.
Yeah, just transported. Where do you think a Sasquatch comes from? I mean, we had an episode. Episode 2 was kind of Bigfoot. We haven't really gone back to Bigfoot.
I still think he's some kind of Nephilim leftover.
You think so?
Yeah.
It's like an echo kind of something.
Yeah, I
am getting more and more on board with the thinking that maybe there was a second incursion at some point. Something happened.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. It just, I don't know. I waver on that, obviously, because I've gone to the whole Ham's wife thing, but that genetically doesn't make sense to me. I just think that it makes more sense, and I can't explain it because there is nothing in the Bible about it. So who knows when it happened? I just feel, the other thing too, and then, you want to talk about heretical words? Here they come, Ben. I just feel like when I read my Bible, there are things missing that should be here.
Oh yeah, I seen a thing this week that they took there was 2 translations of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
One was good, one was bad. Like not like evil and good, but one they left a lot out, and that's where like NIV and ESV come from.
Mm-hmm.
That they took like 6,000 things out because, well, there was more of that transcript of whatever.
Of what happened.
Yes.
To give more detail.
So they're like, but there was less of the one that was correct.
Another one to me that sticks out like a sore thumb that feels like the story is incomplete in some way, and I could be completely wrong, and it doesn't change my salvation at all, right? Is the Satan's story.
Yeah.
It just seems very fragmented to me and very, very pieced. There's not much in there at all, right? And what is in there, you have to kind of read either out of chronological order, Revelation, or is it Isaiah's got a piece of something in there, and then the other one is Ezekiel?
Yeah.
Is that the 2?
And a little bit in Daniel.
Yeah, and the ones if it's the 2 that I'm thinking of in Ezekiel and Isaiah, it's actually woven into another event.
Yeah.
And so it seems very incomplete.
It's like you're starting reading about one, then all of a sudden it jumps.
We start talking about Satan.
Yeah.
And then, it does that in both instances. But the whole story, because this is a huge character for us, right? In the whole biblical story. And there's like nothing hardly about him.
Yeah.
Like, how did he get to the garden? Like, what exactly was he? I mean, like, we can kind of infer through everything what he was, right? But it just feels like...
He was Azazel.
Yeah. Do you think he was?
I
don't think so. I think he existed before Azazel.
Well, he was an angel, so he would have been he would have been opposite of Michael.
Yeah, we say the opposite.
No, a lot of people think
that's a good. That also is on our site. That was a good post that I think you posted.
A lot of people think you'd be opposite of God, but because he's a created being. He was opposite of Michael.
Yeah,
and I think I talked a little bit about that before.
Yeah,
the
other thing too is when you get into, again, this gets into translation, and I know we've kind of drifted off, but as we do on the Tinfoil Hat Club, because these are fun conversations. When you get into looking actually at the term, first of all, Satan is a very generic name. Okay, it just means accuser.
And Revelation uses that, the accuser of the brethren.
It does. And the other thing too is, as you go read through your Bible, it does appear that there are multiple different accusers.
Yeah,
it's almost like it's a job title.
Yeah,
and it's a title for a specific entity that has been designed to do this.
Yeah,
which is controversial as all get out.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm just reading the way that it says, because when you go, for me, this is my 2 cents. When you go read Job, it seems like it's not the same Satan that we know of in the New Testament.
Yeah.
It seems like this entity has much more free reign to do things. The other thing too is this particular entity is clearly coming back to the Elohim council and presenting things.
Yeah.
And it clearly states for us in Revelation that Satan, the Satan that we know in the New Testament at least, was cast down.
Yeah.
He was cast out of heaven and he was thrown down. And he lost his place there. So he can't go be with the council.
There, this is from I think the Wisdom of Solomon. It's an extra biblical text. And it talks about, I know this is going to get in, some people are going to be, what are you talking? It talks about falling stars and meteors. And it says that those are angels that are cursed to earth, that they try to fly to God's holy mountain to hear utterance of prophecy and are exhausted and fall back to the earth.
Falling stars?
Falling stars.
Interesting.
Now, think about that with, say, the accuser. He is bound here. He's bound to earth.
Yeah.
How many accusers are there?
Yeah. I saw a list one time, because we got these different names too. We've got like Beelzebub.
Yeah.
And then I pulled it up one time. There are several different.
Well, according to the one I like to reference, he is the prince of hell, Beelzebub.
So he would be the prince of what we would refer to as the lake of fire?
Yes.
Really?
He was the one that got scared when Jesus came in to release the captives.
Oh, wow. Because it's interesting when I wonder if there is a counterpart to each angel.
There could be.
You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
So like Beelzebub, because when Enoch is being taken around his tour of the heavenly realms, or in this case, Sheol.
Yeah.
Okay. The Uriel is the angel that I do believe is over a lot of these areas.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he has a counterpart on the dark kind of side of the coin. It's almost like, it kind of goes back to the Star Wars thing, which is, I know, really human way to put it, but you've got like light and you've got dark.
Yeah.
The Jedi versus the Sith Lord,
Yeah.
And it seems to be maybe for a balance, there's a counterpart maybe on the other side. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but.
And same with the Raphael. He was of the Raphaim, which were healers.
So he was over like healing and stuff.
Yeah.
See, now I wonder who his counterpart would be on the other side. It would probably be one of those angels that we saw we go read what the different angels, a lot of them did.
Yeah.
The Watchers, they had clear dominion over certain areas.
Now, is the angel of death, is he evil since he's God's angel? I mean,
so when you say that, are you talking about
The one that went over Egypt.
Like during the Passover?
Yeah.
Now, that's an interesting one, too, because when you get into Jubilees, they talk about this cat all the time, and his name is Mastema.
Yeah.
And again, that's another one of the accusers, right? Or it seems like...
And he did a lot of work. He did a lot of God's work.
He did, and it seemed like he was doing what his created use was to do.
Yeah.
And it talks about how God held him back at certain times.
Yeah.
So it's almost like this entity was created to do these things. I don't know. I don't know. It's a really interesting conversation.
See, I'm talking and I'm thinking of an old Carmen video called Satan Bite the Dust. And
what is Carmen?
You never heard of Carmen? He was
Carmen Sandiego.
He was a Christian singer that was like,
oh yeah, no, yeah,
like over the top.
Was his first name Eric Carmen?
No, it was just Carmen. Carmen.
I think I kind of remember this dude.
And he had a song called Satan Bite the Dust. And he was going through all the different like infirmities, alcohol and things. And, he was casting them out. He died like during COVID.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, we'd probably seen him like 5 or 6 times in concert. If you love just to get lost in like 80s nostalgia stuff and like over the top video production that's kind of corny,
yeah,
you got to watch it.
Yeah, I got this pulled up here. So, I didn't route the computer in, but then I don't want to have to pay Carmen's estate now for playing it, but. But party's over, shut it down. I'm hunting for someone, y'all. He's a lion, thief, and rattlesnake, and he's broken every law. He's terrorized the lives of men. And he's under arrest because I've been sent with a warrant from the body of Christ. Well, tell me what it says then. Satan, bite the dust. Every one of you unclean spirits. I'm running you out of town. Depression, strife, disease, and fear. Your posse's going down. Boy... Last tenderfoot who talked the big was sent him home in a box. We sent him home in a box. Doesn't really rhyme too well, does it? I'll have to listen to this.
But all of his shows, he tried to do all of his shows for free.
Oh, really?
Like $5 to get in, and then he would do an offering.
Oh, wow. Just kind of let the Lord determine what he was going to get paid.
Yeah. And he said they barely broke even every night.
Hey, whatever, man. Sometimes that's the calling, but you're breaking even, right?
But a lot of people may like him, a lot of people might not. But if you just want to get entertained, good Christian entertainment.
Interesting.
You can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
But like the song, I think there's an angel, like you said, light and dark. Because you have to have that. I'm not saying you have to, but look at the ones that fell.
Yeah.
Look what they were doing. And that was just 200.
Yeah, right.
What is a multitude? I still don't know what a multitude is.
I don't know. There's got to be some mathematical equation to it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I know in Jubilees they said the main dude said, give me at least a third of whatever's left.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that was Mastema again.
Yeah.
He was talking about, and that kind of stems from Noah.
Yeah.
So we get through the flood, and it's the Nephilim, because the demons are the spirit of the dead Nephilim. Okay, the disembodied spirits that we have today that we know as demons came, the way that it reads, came from the dead, all of the dead Nephilim.
Yeah.
Not the Watchers, but the actual offspring of the Watchers, because one of the Watchers' punishment was they were going to watch all of their kids, the Nephilim, kill each other off.
Yeah.
And get hunted down. And so their punishment was they're not written in the book of life, so
they don't.
You were made on earth, not in heaven.
You're stuck here to roam.
You're stuck here to roam. And so that's why they want to possess bodies, because they have no body.
Yeah.
And they were causing such a problem that Noah basically goes and pleads to God to get the demons under control, because they're just wreaking havoc and killing people.
Yeah.
And so God's going to do away with all of them. And then And he's referred to as the Prince Mastema.
Yeah.
His title is Prince, not accuser or Satan. It says Prince, like multiple times. The Prince Mastema goes and says, whoa, you can't take away all my boys.
Yeah.
How can I do my job if you take away my boys? So God agrees and says, okay, well, I'll do away with 2/3 of them and you get 1/3 to do your work.
And okay, we know they said there was probably about, I think they said between 400 and 700,000
Like angels?
Nephilim.
Oh, how would somebody figure that?
I don't know.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay, we'll give them the benefit. We'll say 1 million.
Okay.
1/3 of a million's about,
What, 333,000?
yeah. So that means possibly there's 3.
I got you, art guy.
Yes, I'm an art guy. So that's still a lot.
Yeah, man. It's over 250,000.
Yeah, that's a city.
Yeah. Well, like the population here is like what, 1,200, 1,400?
Yeah.
Population of Brownsburg is probably about 50, 60,000, 70,000.
Lebanon's right around 15 or 16,000.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot of,
Yeah.
a lot of bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you can see the prevalence of just the demons over in the Middle East, and just the area around where Christ was traveling. He's casting them out left and right. So were the disciples.
Just a thought. We could say, is this a question? Theology according to Truett. If they possessed somebody and they had relations with somebody, could they have an offspring?
I don't know why not.
So,
oh, you mean that's a demon?
Yes.
I wouldn't think so in that particular instance.
Do you think that they could still have an inkling to do evil?
The person?
Yes.
Well, yeah, because we all have an inkling to do evil.
But you think it'd be stronger?
I don't think so. Because I think in that particular instance, you're talking about just pure genetics, not necessarily.
I'm just, I
know it's like we don't know for sure. We're just kind of having a fun conversation now, but I don't think so. But I mean, that's just my human brain trying to wrap around a much bigger question.
Yeah,
I wouldn't think so.
But
I hope not for that poor person.
Okay, we can 3D print organs. We can have AI. Why can't we just make a body and have be possessed by a Nephilim?
I don't know why it couldn't be.
Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're working.
Oh, you know what? That's smart. I never thought about that.
Maybe that's what they're doing.
We need to make a bunch of bodies because my boys need homes.
Yep.
I don't know. I think there's so many people that are willing. Heck, we got people now that that's the other thing too. Idol worship.
Yeah.
Satan worship.
Yeah.
All these things were happening, right? You got to think they were probably happening prior to everything we read about in the Bible that was bad, that God got fed up with and started kicking people's butt because there's like, I'm done. I put up with this long enough. I'm going to punish you. All of these things were happening. You know, they were happening in Noah's time too, as it was in the days of Noah. I think all these things are happening. We see them all now.
I watched a short video about Kat Von D, and she said they had to leave where they were leaving because so many, they could start seeing demonic people and they didn't want to be around it anymore.
Oh my God. I can imagine that. Yeah.
After she got saved.
I can tell you this, which those of you that don't know, if you know Kat Von D, famous tattoo artist, had shows, I think in the past, like actually televised shows, fairly well known throughout the world, actually tattoo artist. She, I think she was, I don't know if she was she a Satanist?
I'm not sure.
I don't know that she was necessarily all the way into that, but she lived in LA. That's where the show was. She literally moved to rural Indiana like a couple of years ago during COVID.
Southern Indiana.
Yeah, like I want to say 20 maybe. Either way, left LA, left all of her stuff behind, and recently just converted over and gave her life to Christ and got baptized and just denounced all of it. Is having a lot of her tattoos covered up and and she said she had to move away. You know what? I can back that up. Have you ever been out there before? To LA?
No. Been to California, but no.
Okay. I'm going to tell you my experience out there. When we went out to go visit Adrian's sister, they took us on kind of the tour, right? You go to Hollywood, you go to Venice, and I'm telling you, Ben, you can feel the evil.
Oh, I bet.
And I know that sounds so canned ham, and you can literally, especially on Venice, when you go walk the beach there and all the shops and stuff and just the area, there's literally so many homeless people like in tents in the middle of the street. And Hollywood is this way. When you go around, you can literally feel palpable evil in the air. It is literally like Satan's playground out there because you can do anything and everything. I mean, people walking around shooting up drugs. It's literally like all of the societal brakes are off, and they just let them do whatever. We were walking along Venice Beach, and there's all these little tents and shops and stuff set up, right? And Adrienne walked past one of the shops, and she said, and she's very attuned to the spiritual. She said she was literally overwhelmed at how like the evil coming out of this place. She's like, I want to leave. I want to go away. I don't want to even be here. Yeah. You could just feel it coming out.
We went to Vegas, but it was a different feeling. It was just beer and urine and disappointment.
And lots of prostitutes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You know, it was a different feeling because it was during the day when we were walking around. Yeah. And we were in Austin a few years ago, and there was two people, pretty sure, you know, somebody's kids that like we had to walk over them to go somewhere, but they had both of them had needles in their arms.
Just passed out. And their kids are there with them.
No.
You said they were young.
They were definitely somebody's kids my gosh. Like probably in their late teens, early 20s.
Oh my gosh.
You know, you could tell they were a couple, but you know, and we looked at our kids and we said, don't do drugs, kids.
Amen.
You know,
that's a true story.
Yeah. It's just the evil that abounds today.
Yeah. I keep saying evil's alive and well.
Yes.
The other thing too, is we hear so many things. One of the scary things for me, and this will kind of end on this note. One of the scary things for me, is the how the AI is so good these days in some ways. How easy it can trick us. You know, there was a picture that got put out there, and it was being passed off as this boy, I think, that had died or something, you know, an atrocity that's going on in the Middle East right now in Gaza. And if you look close, 6 fingers on the hand. Because one of the things that everybody is noticing right now, and this keeps playing true over and over again, AI will do an amazing job and it will trick you 100%, but it struggles with hands. And a lot of times it puts 6 fingers on the hands.
Nephilim had 6 fingers.
Is that is the first thing that I thought of is, where is that in the Bible? Is that in Samuel? No. Where they are getting ready to kill, it was Goliath's brother. Yeah. And they talk about how he had 6 fingers and 6 toes on each of his hands and feet.
Yeah. 2 rows of teeth.
2 rows of teeth. And I keep thinking of that over and over and over.
Yeah.
How strange that is, the correlation between that. It to me, maybe artificial.
Yes. It's not God.
It's not of God. It's artificial. It's a bastardized version of something.
Yes.
That God has made.
And God even said that.
Yes.
And Enoch. He said, kill those.
Kill them.
Yeah.
Wipe them out. They're not from me. They're not written in the book of life. Get them out of here.
Yeah. He did say, sorry folks, he did say kill those bastards because
bastards and reprobates.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, God used harsh words. Sometimes you have to use harsh words.
It's the technical definition of what we're talking about.
Yes.
It is. It's the truth. You know, people don't like to hear the truth nowadays, and unfortunately,
it hurts their feelings.
It does. It hurts their feelings, and again, it's selfish.
Yeah.
The truth is not here to accommodate your feelings. The truth is here to be the truth. And if it strikes you in some way, maybe you should look in the mirror and do some soul searching.
Yeah. On our walks this week, we've been going when it's dark at 7:00 is weird.
I know. It's so depressing.
And so Friday,
we get to 7:00 and we're fighting sleep so hard.
I know. Friday was a clear night, and I just kept looking up at all the stars, and I was just like, this is so nice. It's a nice night. Isn't that so pretty? And those are the same stars that Abraham's seen.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it?
I know.
At least it wasn't obscured by a gigantic Star Destroyer looking black object with red and green lights on it that you saw here one night when you left after we recorded.
Yes.
Oh, we'll leave them on a cliffhanger on that one.
Yes.
Maybe we'll get into that because Adrian saw it too, and that was kind of a freaky thing.
Yeah.
There's weird stuff going on, man.
I know.
It ain't all good.
As in the days of Noah.
As in the days of Noah, Ben, we talk about it a lot. And this was just a little flavor, a little piece of it. Yeah. And we encourage you guys to look all this stuff up, man. Go look up DARPA. Go look up cloning. Go look up cryogenics. Go look up chimerical research. Yeah. Go look up, genetic reprinting and 3D printing organically of organs. And like you said, I can see someday just do. That was my dot matrix printer for a human, by the way.
Yeah.
We're putting jelly together and it'll be a person. But we've seen this before. Everything we've talked about, we've seen before in a movie.
Yeah.
All this stuff, which is also just insane to me.
I know.
But Christ says it's going to get bad.
Yes.
Worse than anything we'd ever seen before. Worse than the days of Noah. He actually goes on to say, we didn't really get to it, but you continue to read Matthew 24. He actually says, that's why I'm going to cut things short, because it's going to get worse.
Maybe we could continue this next week.
Maybe we'll have a part 2.
Ooh.
Or whenever we release it. But either way.
Yes.
Tune back in and you'll find out. So with that, we say thank you, and we will bid you adieu and see you next time on The Foil. Take care.
Bye.
Atomic. Atomic.